Is there ever a quiet period in Pakistan cricket for a week, a month, a day? Honestly, over the last couple of days have been so hectic with news coming left, right, and center. Just something coming up every single hour. Whenever I've tried to make a video about something, another topic would pop up. So, you know what? Enough with the waiting. Let's just talk about the topics that we have at hand. And with the first thing being, Mohammad Rizwan is the new white ball captain for Pakistan. Congratulations to him. He's Pakistan's highest run scorer. He's been part of the team for a very, very long time. He's a senior player. You have to look at the team and think to yourself, who else can take over the captaincy and who else has that level of seniority? And to be honest, I don't really see many other players who can possibly do that. So well done to him. It was probably a long time in the making, and we just got to call it out for what it is. This guy is the biggest politician in the Pakistan cricket team. He is the guy that will say one thing at one place and say another thing at another place. If you were his friend, you might be his enemy. If you're his enemy, he might be your friend. Honestly, that's just the way that Rizwan goes. And we have to talk about the pros and cons with Rizwan. I think one of the things with me is that, I'll be honest, I didn't really want Mohammad Rizwan to be captain, because just for the fact that he's a selfish guy. I know for good reason that when it comes to batting and when it comes to putting his place in the team, he wants to open. When it comes to T20, he wants to come down at number 3 or number 4 for ODI, and in Test cricket he's there at number 6, and he's not the captain there, which is probably a good thing. But we're going to see a lot of selfishness where he says, you know what, this is my spot, I'm going to open, I'm going to do this and that, and then the rest of you just organize like wherever you want to go. But maybe I am being a bit harsh on that, because if we were to look at the PSL for Multan Sultan, he did help them win the PSL and he did get to many finals with them. And the thing is with Rizwan is that he has a very jolly, happy personality on the field, and at some moments it's okay, but at other moments you want your captain to be serious and to be focused. And with Rizwan, there's just going to be a lot of things that he's going to have to work on, and I think he needs to find a balance with that politician side, with making sure you get the best out of your players on the pitch. Another thing that we need to talk about is his press conferences and what he says in the media as well. Especially after the T20 World Cup, he came back and done a press conference and just started speaking about Islam randomly, which was quite weird. I mean, no problem talking about religion, but the timing of it was quite weird. And also in terms of the stuff that he says in the media, especially with the questions that he's given, he doesn't really give cricketing answers. So in my opinion, since the PCB have decided to give him the captaincy, it would probably be a good idea for him to get media trained and to make sure that he can answer those questions and hopefully get through things in a proper manner. And we're going to see what he does, especially in the Australia series against South Africa and the Test series. Oh, sorry, that will be Shan Masood. But essentially, he'll be there in Zimbabwe, and I think he will also be captain until the Champions Trophy in 2025. So there's going to be exciting times. Let's see what happens. Obviously, whoever's the captain gets the full support. So we have to be fair and we have to see how it goes. If I were to make a prediction, I'm not sure if it will end too well, but I think this is something that Rizwan has been planning behind the scenes for a very, very long time, because like I said, this guy is the politician of Pakistan. He is, as they say, Rizu Simons for a reason. Anyway, the vice captain is Salman Ali Agha. So he's a very relaxed, chilled personality. He seems to be doing well at the moment, especially in Test cricket, but he's also quite a young player, and I think it's very quick to give him a big responsibility, especially at this moment in time, because you don't want to disrupt a player's momentum. However, I think eventually with Pakistan, they may be trying to prepare for life away from the senior group of Babar, Rizwan, Shaheen, and possibly give other people the opportunity. And I think with Salman Ali Agha, he is one of those players where they thought to themselves that he can have a long career in. And who knows how this goes? Like I said, he has a relaxed personality, whether that be a good thing, a bad thing, who knows? But hopefully he's able to assist and help out whenever he can. And we're going to go on to the next piece of news, which is actually very surprising, but also not very surprising, especially with the changes that have occurred, is Gary Kirsten. Unfortunately, he has stepped down as the white ball coach for Pakistan. It's a shame, and let's be honest, he hasn't been able to implement any of his ideas or do anything, because over the last couple of months he was mainly observing the team and just seeing how things are. And I think we were getting to a stage where Gary Kirsten was planning on implementing the changes that he wanted to do, especially with the series coming up against Australia and Zimbabwe and whoever else that we may play in the future. We have to realize who Gary Kirsten is. He's an individual with a big international reputation. He's helped India win the 2011 World Cup. He's very sought after, very high in demand, also done very well in the IPL. So he has a lot of pedigree, but the problem is with international coaches is that they're not in Pakistan as much as people may want them to be. And especially, for example, the Champions Cup that happened a couple of months, like a month or two ago, it was only on high request that he was to be there, otherwise he was on leave. And it's not fair on him because this Champions Cup was made out of the blue, and obviously if you're with your family, if you're in your off time, that can be quite difficult, but needs must in this case. And in the end, the PCB just decided to let go of him, and I think that's going to be a big problem because he's a person, as I said, of high pedigree. Pakistan did try to hire other potential international coaches like Shane Watson, but Shane Watson obviously declined, and then the PCB went to Gary Kirsten. And unfortunately, all Gary has done over the last couple of months since he's arrived is just observe the team. So we haven't even been able to see what he's been able to implement or do with Pakistan cricket. And the thing is that in the World Cup in 2024, the T20 World Cup anyway, he looked very stressed. Well, I wouldn't say stressed, but he looked quite annoyed or very angry just by some of the things that he was watching, and very serious. And to be honest, with the way that Pakistan was playing, I wouldn't blame him. I can only imagine what was going on in the dressing room with those players, because like I said, those groupings and morale issues within the team. So I can only imagine what he must have seen firsthand. But best luck to him. It's a shame. I think the PCB kind of messed up there, but it'll be interesting to see who they make as the next coach of Pakistan, and hopefully it will be somebody that can handle these big personalities and make the right decisions in giving everyone a chance. Another piece of news that's also come up was also the NOC contracts. Fakhar Zaman is not going to be given a central contract, which I find quite harsh. He's been in trouble for the tweets he's done, especially in support of Babar Azam. And one of the things I can say is that whoever his agency is, I think it might be the Sire Corporation, whoever his agent is, obviously didn't have his best interests in heart, because to allow a tweet like that to go out is absolutely ridiculous. It's brain dead in my opinion, because you have to think to yourself, if you're going so far out of your way to support someone, you have to think to yourself, will that person also support you? Would Babar Azam support him in the same way? And at the end of the day, they are international cricketers and they will look out for themselves whether they want to look it or not. And that's why the onus is on them and the onus is on him, and it's a shame. The thing is that there are also other reasons why he may have tweeted that and why they may have not given him the central contract. He has some fitness issues that have not been reported. I mean, it's behind the scenes, but apparently that may also be an issue why they haven't given him a central contract. Look, he's a very inconsistent player, but when he is on form, when he is playing at his best, he is a match winner. And we have to ask ourselves, who else in this Pakistan team is a match winner? Who is in that team against New Zealand when it was 400 on the board in an ODI match? Who else could have possibly gone out there and get 150 to 200 runs? Because I can tell you not. I can tell you at this moment in time, if we were to look at the current team, or if we were to look at the players that were there, Babar Azam, Rizwan, they won't be able to do something like that. But Fakhar Zaman could, and I think that's why a lot of people are upset about that. But the thing is that I agree that players need to be punished, but to not give him a central contract, I think it's quite very harsh in my opinion. But let's see if he does make his way back into the team somehow, some way. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And this is the thing, in that list of players, there are other players that needed to be dropped a long time ago. And since that we're on this topic now, Shadab Khan, thank God he's not going to Australia and he's not going to Zimbabwe. They announced the team selection. He has been given a contract. He's got a C contract, so he's been demoted, and it's a miracle how he's been able to survive this long in the Pakistan team. It's honestly ridiculous. Whenever people ask questions, why is he in the team? We have people like Imam ul Haq coming out and saying, oh, he just needs to be in the team because he does so much behind the scenes and blah, blah, this and that. Look, man, if we were to be really honest, his spin is literally gone down the drain. His leg spin has diminished so dramatically, it's absolutely ridiculous. He's trying to reinvent himself as a batsman, but we're not looking for him to be a batsman. We're looking for him to be a spinner. The job job that you were brought in the team to do, he hasn't been doing it, especially in the World Cup, coming in at number 4 ahead of other senior batsmen. It's absolutely, utterly ridiculous. And the thing is that with his inclusion in the team, due to Babar Azam's insistence, there's been so many players that have just been wasted. Their careers have just gone. Like Usman Qadir, he's literally announced his retirement very recently. Zahid Mahmood, he's in his mid to late, well, he's what, 34, 35 now. Osama Mir, especially with the World Cup, and this is the thing that I felt quite bad for him. With Osama Mir, I don't think he's even had enough games or experience to even be prepared to play in the World Cup. And when he played in the World Cup, he just looked like a deer in headlights. He just looked completely shocked with the lights, the stress of the situation that he was in, and that was because he didn't get enough game time. And why was that the case? Because we kept playing Shadab Khan, a person who's been out of form, out of sorts for so long, and I'm so happy that he's finally been dropped. Because I tell you what, Babar Azam is dropped now, but this individual in particular should have been dropped a long time ago. And especially his antics in the Sri Lankan League and in the Champions Cup, staring down youngsters, and we got Sajid Khan staring down proper men. I mean, just see the levels, man. It's so different. We can see that Babar's allies are slowly being removed one by one. Imam ul-Haq hasn't been given a contract. Hassan Ali hasn't been given a contract. Fakhar Zaman hasn't been given a contract. And one thing that does concern me is the fact that there is talk that the new head coach could possibly be Sak Lane, and if that is the case, that is very bad news, because we don't want there to be conflict of interest. And if he comes, there will definitely be conflict of interest. And I know maybe not at this moment in time, but over the next couple of months he will try to bring Shadab back into the team. That will only spell disaster in my opinion, especially if Shadab isn't able to get back to the things that he was once good at, which is his spin. Because whenever he's bowled in the ODIs or the T20s, his economy rate would be through the roof, and it would absolutely be ridiculous with the way we constantly played him, because he would be an hindrance bowling wise to the team. But for now he's dropped, so let's hopefully see what happens there. Iftikhar, he's also another one that hasn't been given a contract. I think it's unfortunate, but we have to really look at Iftikhar and really be honest with ourselves. If we looked at, especially in the Champions Cup, he's been blaming the media for the way and how he's performed, and he's had some outbursts. But look, he's the one who comes out and he says he's not sure what type of batsman he is, whether he's a lower order batsman or an upper order batsman, or whether he's an all-rounder. And we have to also ask ourselves, as someone, and I'm going to clearly say this, he's been the middle order batsman for quite a while for Pakistan, but when has he done a match-winning score? Maybe he's done a few here and there, but the highest match-winning score that he's possibly done was 100 against Nepal. And no disrespect to Nepal, but in the cricket world, they're not a heavyweight in that sense. And with Iftikhar, in the domestics he scores all these runs, but when it comes to the international stage, he just hasn't been able to replicate that. And I think he's been given lots and lots of opportunities, but it's probably high time that we go to someone else. And it was very unfortunate, especially against India, and I think even maybe USA, where Shadab Khan was getting ahead of him, and that was in itself absolutely ridiculous. How is it that a guy who is a batsman, like, I know they're saying he's an all-rounder, but no, he's a batsman, and Shadab Khan is getting ahead of you at number 4 as well? There has to be absolute serious issues there somewhere. And maybe you can put it down to Shadab's antics, but as a player, Iftikhar, you know, maybe it's time just to move on and just see different things. But yeah, I will also look into the fact that Naseem, Shaheen and Babar are back for the tour in Australia. What can I say? I'm not impressed. I thought we would take a decision to drop them and they would work on their fitness, which was one of the key reasons on why they were dropped. But they're brought back in, maybe because that's red ball cricket and this is white ball cricket, and maybe they might be able to do something. But I think this sends a pretty bad message for the rest of the team. Maybe we could also look at it like this, that they've had a bit of a wake-up call being dropped in the Red Bull series, so maybe they might look to improve in the series against Australia. But for me, I'm not expecting anything. It's only been 20 days since they were dropped. I don't know how anyone could improve their fitness dramatically in that space of time. But if you want an early prediction, I don't think they're going to do anything in this series, and we're just going to give even more reason for them to be dropped, especially against South Africa and Zimbabwe and whoever else comes forward. But if they were smart enough, if they realized what the problem was, then they would possibly use this time to work on their fitness. But what do I know? Anyway, and I think the last thing that I will say is that with Ramiz Raja and Shan Masood, with the interview they had after the third test match, I think it was a little mean-spirited from Ramiz Raja to question Shan Masood on the 6 losses. And one thing I will say is that with Shan Masood, he handled that situation very, very perfectly. He handled the questions very well. There's been a lot of criticisms from Ramiz Raja, especially as a commentator and as somebody who has asked those questions, because he was the chairman at the time when Pakistan were losing a lot of those games at home, and he was also the one that introduced those road flat track pitches. So sometimes these types of things aren't necessary, and he also tried to give Shan Masood a little handshake after the interview. Honestly, all I can say is Shan Masood's a better man than me. Other people would react very, very differently, but it just shows that Shan Masood has that sensibility about him. That's something that I respect a lot about him. But yeah, that's as much as I can get through with the Pakistan news. So much has been going on over the last week or so, news coming out left, right and center. It seems that with Pakistan, whenever they try to make a step forward, they always take 5 steps back, and especially with the inclusion of Naseem, Shaheen and Babar. But who knows, let's see, maybe they might improve in the Australia series, but if fitness is an issue, then 20 days isn't going to do anything. And in terms of the coach, hopefully they hire a good neutral coach who includes as many players as possible, in the sense that they gives everyone a chance and the best amongst them will hopefully continue to play for Pakistan. It is unfortunate that Sajid and Oman aren't going in the white ball series. I think that Sajid deserves a chance in that, but it is what it is. So yeah, hopefully you all liked the video. Hopefully let's see what happens in the Rizwan era of captaincy. Hope to see you all in the next video. Put your thoughts in the comments below and see you all soon. Bye bye.